To transmute your sexual energy is to refrain from expending it along sexual lines, and allowing your body to reinvest those energies into the regeneration and betterment of your organism. A body that is constantly using their sexual energies for sex will not have this ability. We need only look at plant life to further understand this relation. Horticulturists know that if you try to grow two plants in the same pot, both will compete for nutrition, and due to insufficiency, one or both plants may become weak in structure. When multiple plants are competing for the same resources, they can become stressed and susceptible to disease and pests. In much the same way, the testes are competing for resources against the rest of the organism. And as nature prioritizes reproduction over all else, the testes are more than able to continually drain the organs of nutrition and resources that the body needs for cell maintenance and longevity. No organ will feel this depletion from the gonads more than the brain, as the brain is the most energetically demanding organ in the body. It was often said in old writings that when the testes are overactive, the brain suffers most. This notion that overactivity of the sexual faculties will likely indicate insufficiency of the intellectual faculties is well known. Dr. Ryan expressed a similar thought when he wrote, "Bacon observed that no one of great genius in antiquity had been addicted to women, and he stated that among the moderns the illustrious Newton had never enjoyed sexual intercourse. This fact confirms the remark made by Arateus, and since verified by physiologists, that continence, or the reabsorption of the semen into the bodily economy, impresses the whole organism with an extreme tension and vigor, exciting the brain and exalting the faculty of thought. If we wish to transmute or redirect our sexual energies to the higher faculties, such as intellect and spiritual awareness, then we must first make sure that those sexual resources are available and are not being depleted through sensual pleasure. In view of the fact that both the brain and the sex glands extract identical substances from the blood for the support of their nutrition, this would mean that there exists a chemical antagonism between them, since increased activity of the latter becomes decreased nutrition of the former. This is confirmed by the observation of Darwin that the brain of rabbits diminishes in size under domestication. It is well known that domesticated animals have more frequent mating seasons and reproductive activity than wild ones. Obviously, the diminished size of the brain of the domesticated species was due to withdrawal of lecithin from the brain by the sex glands. Also, it is known that the brain of the insane contains about half as much lecithin as the normal brain. All these considerations emphasize the physiological value and importance of seminal conservation or continence as a health measure, aside from its moral value. When we lose semen, we lose formative brain substance. When we squander semen, we waste substances that would otherwise become part of our brain and nerve structure. We are perhaps already unconsciously aware that power in the mind comes at the cost of power in the rest of the organism, just as power in the sexual or physical often comes at the cost of the mental. The archetypal playboy or high school jock is not traditionally known for his mental prowess, just as the brainiac does not often excel in the physical or romantic realms. Also, we all know how the monk or nun renounces their sexual desires and lives a life of celibacy. Do these examples not recognize this connection between the use of the sex glands and the higher intellectual and spiritual faculties? The first step in male and female regeneration is to abandon the stupid, devitalizing, life-shortening practice of sexual intercourse. What it amounts to is the release of an excess of nitrogenous end products in the body. beyond what the kidneys can eliminate, which creates a feeling of uneasiness and craving for a sexual orgasm, by which this excessive albumin may be discharged. In other words, the origin of sex craving is the accumulation of the end products of an excess of protein in the body, whereby the sex glands come to the aid of the kidneys to eliminate it. The pleasure arising from the orgasm is somewhat pathological, and arises from the relief in the internal tension caused by the presence in the bloodstream of toxic nitrogenous end products. Once a person is free from protein intoxication and the resulting irritation of the gonads, one has made the first step in the direction of regeneration and true physiological normalcy. Supposing, however, you are one of the rank and file, or even of the stragglers of the army of life, what effect will the sublimation of the life forces have upon your nature if you have no creative talents that can turn them to use? They will give, first of all, a peculiar sense of poise, and that sense of poise will soon be expressed in the alteration of the carriage of the body. There will also come an increased intellectual alertness and power to penetrate into the nature of things. There will be, in fact, a curious quickening and intensifying of all the higher faculties. The most marked change, however, will come in your relationships with other people. They may not know what it is that they feel, but they will speedily become aware of something, and that something is best described as personal magnetism. There is a curious buoyancy of the spirit, which comes when the life forces are circulating on the upper arc, also a freeing of the capacities of the mind. The sublimation and dedication of the life forces will give personality to the most commonplace character, dignity to the clumsiest figure, and spiritual beauty to the most homeliest face. I, if I be lifted up, will draw all men unto me, said our Lord. The uplifted consciousness draws towards itself all that is highest in every human heart, and the soul that dedicates its life to service will have little reason to complain of loneliness and neglect. Once we can successfully get control of the sexual impulse, we can begin to build upon the finer qualities of our organism. These finer qualities emanate into all realms of our existence, not only physical, but mental, spiritual, moral, social. It molds us into a new being and redirects us onto a new path. It is no wonder that success is often equated with the reduction of sexual activity. Napoleon Hill alluded to this idea, stating that this reduction in sexual activity is the reason that so many do not succeed in life until after age 40, because at this time the sexual powers often diminish enough for man to start diverting those energies into higher pursuits. So if you wish to continue down the path of fornication and sexual pleasure, be aware of what is at stake. You can engage in such activities, but it will come at a cost to your advancement in other areas, a cost to your organism, a cost to your life. If you wish to find more meaning, to create more value, and seek more fulfillment with your time here on earth, then I suggest you conserve your sexual energy and divert it towards more productive endeavors.